Hello and welcome back to the Wasted Podcast. Last time we had a lovely little chat about the biggest tech flops in history.
Yes, and there were quite a few.
What have you got for us this week, Courtney?
So today we're going to be speaking about what if phones were subscription only.
Okay.
Now, I know what you're thinking, because when I was like, we should speak about this, my first thought was, aren't they basically subscription only now?
I think there's two angles to come at this
Yeah,
one.
which is very interesting. I feel like we need to explain that more.
Yeah, I'd say there's the two sides are the actual hardware of the phone, which I think that being subscription based is a lot more familiar to us because most people have contracts and some countries they lease their phones. Like I know Germany, everyone basically leases their phone. And people used to lease their phones here in the old days. And then there's the software side of things, which I think is where people get a lot more uncomfortable. So I think that's something interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot to
consider.
unpack in this one. It's basically like a Netflix subscription, right? You know, having a contracted phone, if you don't pay, say you can pay your monthly bill, then you just basically get letters saying, you haven't paid your bill, like you need to pay your bill now. Whereas Netflix or Spotify, if you don't pay, it just completely stops.
Well, I think...
Right?
Well, this is where I think there's different angles on this because I don't know if it really happens these days. Because in the old days, like when people did sort of lease phones, I think it was pretty much if you stopped paying, they cut you off. And obviously, if people's phones weren't as important. Most people had house phones, and obviously you didn't have your bank and everything else on your phone. And then now, like the phone's a bit separate, isn't it? So even if you got sort of cut off, you could get a new SIM card or something most of the time. And a lot of people have SIM only and stuff. But it is like that software side I think is really interesting in terms of, you know, if they're going to charge you to use the phone, not just to have the phone, but to use the phone, what does that mean? You know, if you stop paying, do you lose access to certain features or does it go on to a sort of like a free plan where like you can make calls and texts, but you can't use the camera or like weird things?
And also, it just came into my head now. You know where sometimes, like, for example, some websites have like a 30-day free subscription and then you have to start paying. I wonder how many times, because we've all been there, we've all done it where we've signed up and then before the 30 days we cancel it so we don't get charged. So I'm wondering, could people get a phone, like have it for 30 days, but on the 29th day be like, not have it because I don't want to pay?
Well, I think it would be split into two things, wouldn't it? I think there'll be like there's the actual physical phone, and I think that maybe people would just buy them up front but cheaper because they know you're going to pay monthly for it. Or maybe there's sort of two sides of it. So you're paying monthly for the phone, and that's maybe tied into your contract still. But then again, like you're paying for the software. So at the minute, when you buy an iPhone, you get iOS updates for like years, don't you? Like it's 6 or 7 years, right? But maybe with that thing of you don't get the upgrade unless you're paying, or you don't get certain features. And I think the weirdest thing to compare them to is, you know, like with BMWs where, and I don't know if it's all BMWs, but there's the thing of you have to pay to unlock the heated seats. But the heated seats are already there. So I feel like that's the first sort of thing they'll do, where they'll say, if you get like maybe the free plan where you get basic things, but it's like you can only film at 1080p. You can only connect to certain like, you know, thing, like you can't maybe do AirPlay or something. Like you have to get the premium one and then you unlock those features. And then that's where I see it being a weird thing. Like the phone will already do it, but you can't actually do it unless you pay for it. And, you know, if you want 4K camera, you have to pay extra. And Samsung are already doing this a little bit with the Galaxy AI thing, because they've said that you're going to have to pay for Galaxy AI, which currently I don't use any of it and I don't care anyway. But
how much is it, the Galaxy?
Well, they haven't said, and they've said I think it's later this year, and I imagine it can't be that much, like, you know, a few quid a month maybe. But I mean, most of those things, I don't think I need them or want them. I think the only thing people really use loads is the like the image edit and stuff, you know, like the Magic Eraser and stuff. And maybe some people will pay for that, but I feel a lot of people will be like, do you know, it's nice, but I'm not paying for it. It's not worth it. And I feel like that's the start of it, maybe, of like to use everything your phone does and things that people's phones already do, that over time people will get used to the fact that you have to pay extra for it to do those normal things. But that's where I think the interesting thing happens. Like, will it make phones cheaper?
Yeah,
because
I
they know
suppose
you're
so.
going to pay every month for it. So they sort of hook you in with, oh, get a new phone. It's only, I don't know what that now, like £1,000. So it'll be like, it's only 400 quid for a new phone, but it costs you 30 quid a month to use it.
The concept is you'll have the phone and you'll pay however much for the phone a month or whatever, and then to have more things. Or do you think it will include like apps and stuff, like you can only get 5 apps for this price, and then if you want premium then you have to upgrade to so and so? Or you know how like iPhones have the Apple Intelligence of like scanning a dog breed or something like that? You can have Apple Intelligence but only the basic bits, and then to actually use it for like knowing the breed of a dog or whatever, even though I think that's so stupid, you need to pay an extra £2 a month for that.
I think that's the first sort of area they do it.
Yeah.
Because they're like new things coming out, and because you don't really need them. I think that's what it maybe be like. Your base apps, the apps you need to use, like will be included with the phone or on like a really cheap tier. And then I think they'll start upping of what do you have to pay to get the premium features and the fancy and stuff. Which I do think of a lot of it is, are people actually going to pay for it? Do they care that much? I don't know. It might be the start of putting people off using their phones, where they're like, do you know what?
Yeah.
Like, probably don't actually need it if it's going to cost me that much.
Well, it's the same with like we spoke about last time about the iPhone mini. Like it's like people said they wanted it, but when they had it, they realized that they didn't want it. So could this be more like people will realize how much they don't need these certain apps? So like, you know how now, oh my God, I need to have a photo editing app. So they'll download the app, but then they'll only use it once and they just never delete it. So it just takes up storage. Like I wonder if people will be like, oh, that's an extra £2. I don't think I need that. Or they'll start thinking I could do this.
Yeah. I mean, I think the phone companies hope that you subscribe and you forget that you've not using any of the stuff and you just pay every month. But I feel like it will make people maybe question, like, do I actually need it?
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing. Also, which comes to mind is like, if you don't have premium something, like a premium subscription, can you imagine like having to watch an ad before using your camera?
That'd be unreal. Because there's already the Amazon Fire phones and tablets.
Yeah?
Have you seen them?
No.
So I think they still do the tablets. I think they gave up on the phone. But it was basically, you could buy it cheaper and it had ads on it. And I would not want that at all. Like, had ads on your lock screen and stuff. So, you check the time on your phone and have adverts sitting there. And I don't know how these adverts are even successful. Like, if something's on my lock screen bothering me, I'd purposely not buy it, even if I wanted it. Because I'm like, no, I'm not having that. But, so Amazon already did it. And I do think it draws some parallels to, like, the types of products where you do get the initial thing really cheap so that they charge you for the extras, don't they? Like, and that goes from things like, when you buy like plug-in air fresheners, like you buy it and it comes with the refills, and the thing and the refills is like £5 or something, and then the refills are like £4.50 anyway, and they've given you that bit basically for free. And it makes me wonder if what it will do is the phones will be really cheap to make you get a phone, but now they've got you locked in, and maybe that will be the thing as well of like when you buy the phone, you get 6 months included or something to get you
I think definitely
in, and then. Yes, I don't know how it could go because there's a lot of different directions the software could go for sure. And I think when you think of what phones already do and how they do it and how you charge for that versus how will they change how the phone works. Like I think like adding ads. Like currently you don't get ads on your iPhone, do you? No. Unless you go on like the App Store. Like you don't get adverts on your wallpaper or on the lock screen or anything like that. But will they start adding ads in to make you pay for it? So it is quite worrying to me.
And then after a year, because like insurances, they always go up every year, no matter what. Sometimes car insurance can go down or whatever. But like, can you imagine if it's like, okay, I've had my phone for a year now, more features have come out, so you need to pay an extra £50, or your premium is now this much because you can have a better camera, you can have Apple Intelligence, you can have iOS 256. Like, can you imagine how much, like, will it be cheaper in the long run, or will it end up being just as expensive as like buying a phone outright? Or
I could see him doing that classic thing of when these sort of things would launch, that they would make it cheaper. It'd be like, well, if you think about it, it used to cost you £1,000 for a phone.
Yeah.
Now the phone's £400 and then it's only £20 a month. And then you say, oh, over 2 years, I'm still going to save money. And then in 5 years' time, you start to realise, wait a minute, this was supposed to be cheaper, but now like the phone costs £1,000 anyway, and it cost me 50 quid a month, and I'm paying so much more for a phone. So I feel like they'll slowly trick us. And I do think, like you said about adding the features, like loads of software's doing that at the minute where they keep adding in AI stuff and then saying,
Yeah.
oh, because we've added all this extra stuff, the price is going up. And for a lot of it, I think I don't even want that
Who
stuff.
asked for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they don't even give you an option of here's the pay a tenner a month extra for AI. It's like, no, it's going from 10 to 20 quid and you have to have the AI. And I don't even want it most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to, like, loads of things are coming to mind now of, like, what it would be like. But then, like, I still can't differentiate, is that the right word I'm using, between, like, contract phones and then subscription only. Like, do you think contract phones will still be a thing?
That's where I think it might, because like say Germany, I know are really hot on leasing, and in the old days of phones here, it was all about leasing because
Yeah.
phones cost like insane. Well, I say insane amounts of money. It seemed like insane amounts of money because now we spend like 1,500 quid on phones. But you know, so people were used to, oh, it's too expensive to buy it, and obviously you do need like the airtime, so you do need to get a contract or pay as you go one way or another. And I think maybe it will lean back that way as phones are getting more expensive. I think a lot of people started buying phones and getting SIM-onlys and stuff.
Yeah.
And now with the cost going up, it might go back to people paying monthly again. And I mean, even some of the companies we work with, like Music Magpie, they do quite a lot of leasing on their refurbished phones. So instead of buying the phone, you lease it for X amount a month. And if you have enough, you just give it back to them. Mm-hmm. And I think it actually includes the insurance. So if you break it or something as well, it's like covered in part of your monthly cost. So it can work out quite well. But obviously, if you don't upgrade every so often, then you're paying way too much for like you'll still have an iPhone 16 in 5 years' time and you're still paying monthly. So it's sort of, you either need to upgrade or you're better off buying it outright. And it's weird where the crossover point is, if you go what I mean.
So, like, thinking in a subscription only phone, like, if you break it or you smash it, do you think they'll just charge you extra fees? Like, when you got your own phone, you can go and get it fixed, whether that's from Apple or like somewhere else. You know, you shouldn't do that. But do you think they'll be like, all right, so this is an extra £10 a month because you've smashed it? Or do you think they'll just charge you one?
I mean, they could go that way, couldn't they? It could be like every time you break it, it goes up to cover the cost of it.
Because you know, it's like when you make a claim on an insurance, it like your premiums do go up.
I mean, it might be a bit like how phone insurance is, where maybe there'd be an excess, where it's like every time you break it, you pay 100 quid then.
Yeah.
But it could go either way because, like, you could argue that if you break the phone, you're not going to want to pay monthly because you can't use it. So it's in their interest to fix the phone for you so that you keep paying every month and maybe roll part of that in. And maybe, especially for Apple, maybe it will be like your Apple Care and everything's included. And it's just, who knows what it will cost. Like I can imagine it being quite expensive, but if you add in the Apple Care, your SIM only, the cost of the phone, the cost of Apple Intelligence and everything else, like I could quite easily see it being like 100 quid a month or something. But maybe people would go for it, I don't know.
Can you imagine like having to buy a phone or get a phone, should I say, and subscribe to it, and you have to, like a car. So you know when you go in and you buy a new car, they sit you down and then they go like, first of all, do you want a tea or coffee or do you want this or that? And then it's like they pull these phones out and it's like, okay, so this phone's going to be £400 today. You put a deposit down for whatever, however much, you know, and then you'll be like trying to haggle them. So they're going up to their manager, coming back down, you know, like literally like you're trying to buy a car. And then they go, okay, so you want this. By the way, here is an extra £50 a month if you want your flash to be white or it's going to just come green. Like, can you imagine if there's like all these extra things that you need and want?
I actually think that's what buying phones used to be like. Because they used to be like really luxury purchases and it was like it was a lot of money to drop for something. So like and I remember like, I don't know, whenever, well, I suppose it probably was pushing 20 years ago now. Like when I was getting my first contracts and stuff that I was paying for myself and everything, that it was a bit like that. You'd go in, they'd sit you down, and because back then there were loads of phones to choose from and stuff, and it would be running you through, these are the deals, how many minutes do you need, how many texts do you need and everything. Because obviously
funny.
For ages it's been unlimited minutes, unlimited text.
Yeah.
Whereas it used to be that big thing of like, do you do a lot of texting? How many texts you're going to need? Like, how, you know, and especially if you're already with them, like this, you're using 400 a month, so we could put you on this deal and stuff. Whereas now minutes and texts are all unlimited anyway.
Yeah,
So it's only your data you're choosing. So I feel like, yes, it's almost gone less like that because now everyone has to have a phone. And
I have so many questions. Like, what does it mean when you want to go to a different country and use your phone? Do you have to call up your insurer? your person and be like, I'm about to go abroad. Is this going to affect my premium?
Maybe
It's
that's
like,
another thing that goes in
that's
it, where it'll be
mad.
like you need the upgraded package
Yeah.
to use it abroad and stuff. I mean, I could see it. It depends how you look at it. You could argue in some ways it would be nice to have a package that includes everything. Like, and the only thing Apple are really missing from that now is like being the network, which maybe that's the next step. I don't know, but you know, because they already do. I mean, they all do something like it, but Apple do the Apple Care and everything like that. So if you start adding it up and they say this is just a monthly cost, then I think some people would go for that for sure, because it's easy. You don't have to think about it. You know, you're covered if it's broken. You don't have to think about what network I want to go. If it's like, well, I just get the Apple thing. And again, it might be like it could be all tiers of its features and how much data do you get, and do you get what level of Apple Care do you get and everything else. Like there could be like a, you know, bronze, silver, gold package or something. I feel like Apple would be the first ones to do this though.
Yeah.
No, it seems a lot more along the lines of what they do, because once you're like in with Apple, you're in with Apple, aren't you?
But also, could it be a good thing and it means that less phones are being made? As in, like, for example, if your yearly like subscriptions coming to an end and you want to keep that phone and you want to keep it, but the battery's like a little bit bad, or you know the screen's cracked a little bit, do they say, okay, so we'll just give you a replacement battery then?
I could see that being a thing, that there's like once a year you get a new battery.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I just thought about as well was like iCloud. They'd bundle that in, wouldn't
Yeah.
they? So like there is a lot of stuff they'd put in there. What does it mean? Because right now, every year, they're really focused on getting you to get a new iPhone.
Yeah.
Because that's how they get more money.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe it would be like less of a focus on upgrading the phone and more of a focus on upgrading the software.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like, well, if you buy an iPhone, as long as you've got one that's within however many years,
Yeah.
you'll get iOS 26 later this year. You know, like it's not like you've got to pay for it and you don't have to buy a new iPhone to get iOS 26. Yeah. But maybe it would be the thing of you only get the new version if you're subscribing rather than by buying a new phone. So it might go that way.
Would it be easier if they just made one specific iPhone or Android, no flips, no nothing, just one specific phone, and then just have it subscription only?
Well, that's what I could sort of imagine, that everyone just has the top one.
Yeah.
Almost. Like you don't need to worry about whether you got the Pro or not now, because it's like everyone basically gets that, and we can try. Because as well, I know it's more expensive to make the Pro, but you know it is with a lot of those things, like it probably costs like an extra 10 quid to put the better camera in, and then they want to charge you an extra 300 quid or something. Whereas it would be like, just give it everything. A bit like with the cars, build the heated seats in, and then, you might not even pay for them. But how much did it cost to put them in? Not a lot. And then now they can charge you all the time for it. So I think it would change it. I think there'd be things like locked off, like, you get the standard camera included for free or on the lowest package. But if you want the zoom camera and the wide angle camera, you only get them on premium and stuff like that. But their cameras are already there. You're just not allowed to use them.
And I think that puts us onto the topic of e-waste. So I feel like there would be most likely less e-waste because no one's going to be hoarding phones or things.
Well, I think that they'd probably want the phone back, wouldn't they, as well?
Yeah.
So, like, no one would have phones sitting in drawers.
Exactly.
They'd take them all back. So, like, there are some definite sort of, environmental pros to it and everything else. But the big thing for them as well is because they're taking the phones back, there wouldn't be any secondhand phones knocking around, would there? So, before you know it, everyone's just, there is no option but to get a subscription, because I wouldn't want to do it. I like buying my phone, owning my phone.
Yeah.
I like being flexible to go with whatever network I want.
Do you always buy your phone outright then?
Yeah. And I'd say go with whatever network. I've been with EE for like 25 years or something, but or when they were Orange before. But so I'm never actually going to change the network probably. But I like the idea that I can. And it's that whole package of, I don't know, I don't want to be trapped with that phone, and I don't want them deciding for me or turning, you just wake up one day and features are gone. Not that I use like any of the features on my phone, but I like knowing I've got them. I don't want to be like, and I hate it, but I'm the sort of person who'll probably actually be tricked into when it's like, you go down the menu and there's stuff grayed out saying only available on premium.
Oh no.
And I'd be like, well, I need to get premium then.
Yeah.
Even if I don't really want to use the stuff. So I'd probably fall for it. But that's why I think as a population, we should all say don't let it happen. No one.
Yeah, so if
subscribe
this
to it.
happens, we're all going on strike and we're all going to protest that to not have subscription only phones.
Well, I'd like to think that what would happen is Samsung would be like, oh, Apple are doing that, but we won't do that, and that's why you should buy ours.
Yeah.
But then give it a couple of years and they'll turn around and be like, oh, Apple are making a lot of money out of that. Maybe we should do it actually. Which is exactly the same as, when Samsung took the piss out of Apple for getting rid of the headphone jack and stuff like that. And then a year later they're like, oh, we've got rid of it now. Or like that they didn't put a charger in the box. And then a year later they're like, yeah, we don't do a charger now. So
do you think it will be only subscription only phones, or do you think they'll chuck in AirPods and chuck in an iPad or an Android tablet for an X amount?
That would maybe be another factor of it, of what tier you're on dictates what you get with
Yeah.
it. Yeah, AirPods are maybe a bit different because they're not very sort of software heavy.
Yeah.
And you connect them to more than just your phone, potentially like your laptop and stuff.
Yeah.
But like iPads basically are phones, aren't they? So that'll probably be quite similar.
Do you think they'll be like, I'll chuck in a iPad Pro for £60 extra, or like £15 extra for a month or something like that,
Well,
or would they have their own subscription?
I mean, because contracts already do that a bit, don't they? Like EE have loads of stuff you can add on. Like
I
really
never
weird
get lucky.
stuff.
They don't give me anything.
Well, as in like, because if you go on the EE thing, they say like, do you want to add like Xbox Game Pass, and we'll give you a controller or whatever so that you can play Xbox on your phone and stuff. And they have like in their store loads of stuff that you can pay monthly, that like loads of stuff is the sort of stuff don't pay monthly for it. Like they'll have AirPods, like it will be like, oh, for 2 years pay, how much? So like pay 10 quid a month for AirPods for 2 years, which I don't think is necessarily a sensible thing to do. But it might well be a bit like that, especially if, because I don't know if it's really what will happen, but in my mind, a big part of this is that Apple, for example, will sort of bring the phone contract in-house of it. And whether that means they do a deal with EE or they do their own network, whether that's like as an MVNO or anything. But I see it as like one package for everything. Or maybe that'd even be the thing where they don't talk about like a phone contract anymore, because it is the case of, well, if we want you to use all this stuff and pay monthly for it, like we just basically give you unlimited data so that you can use the phone. So it could go so many different ways. I think, weirdly, even though I hate the idea of it, it's really interesting to see what they do.
It is really interesting. I personally, I don't think I'd get a subscription only phone, because I'm stupid with the contract as it is. Like I pay it monthly. I don't think about it. So I feel like maybe I would be like you. Something would be greyed out, and I'd be like, oh, I've got to get that, and I don't need that at all. I think I would probably not be that savvy with it.
Well, that'd be the worst thing as well. Like, there's features on your phone, you don't use it very often, especially maybe like camera type stuff.
Yeah.
But then there'll be one time when you do need it, and then you'll be like, you'll get the subscription and you won't ever cancel it.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, oh, I'll probably use it again.
Yeah,
So.
that's it. And that's just like with different apps as well. I'm pretty sure that I paid for like something pro and I've used it once, but I'm like, I might need it. Just I'll wait it out a little bit.
I mean, I know if I get pro stuff, normally it's to get rid of the ads.
Yeah.
So like if they put ads on the phones, and I don't want to give them any ideas, even though they obviously already have these ideas.
Yeah.
I would pay for it instantly to get rid of the ads. I hate it. But I do think the side of it that I think will maybe definitely happen, because it is like everyone wants you to be subscribed to everything now. Everyone sees that as the great business model, even though it's getting to the point no one's got any money left to subscribe to anything because they got so many subscriptions.
Yeah.
But the sort of phone leasing thing, I could see that picking up more, especially as phones get more and more expensive, where it will be sort of locked in of, you don't pay for it for 2 years, or you don't buy it, you just lease a phone, and when you want to change, you change.
Yeah.
And your monthly price might just swap, and maybe like your insurance and stuff is included, so you don't have to worry about it breaking or repairs or new batteries or anything else. Because I think that's one of the big things with phones is the idea that you don't know when it's going to sort of get knackered, and you would have that jump off point of, oh, it's getting a bit tired now.
Yeah.
So I'll get rid of it now. Although they definitely last a lot longer than they used to. I remember, 2 years for a contract, by the end your phone would be giving up for sure. And it would be so slow, and the new ones would be so much better. And obviously it has plateaued a lot. So maybe it works better now.
Yeah. I suppose my question to you guys is, would you want a subscription only phone, or would you want to just outright have it? Or if contracts are still a thing, would you still pick contracts? But I generally think there will probably like not have contracts anymore and just have a subscription or outright own the phone?
I think eventually. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be gradual, isn't it? They're going to trick us. And this Galaxy AI thing and stuff's going to be the start. So don't subscribe to Galaxy AI, whatever you do.
Yeah, I think that was like, I feel like I could talk about that for hours because there's just so many things that start popping into my head like, oh, what about if this happens, or what about if that happens? But maybe we'll invent it ourselves. What do you think?
I don't want to because I don't want to be evil. But
Compare and subscribe.
one of the things I do worry about
Yeah.
with the idea that it's not your phone and it's their phone, if it goes down that route, is what if they get angry at you for breaking their phone? Like a bit like when you're, leasing a car and it's like, well, if you
Yeah.
damage it, you've got to repair it. And what if when you return the phone and trade it for the new one or whatever, they say, oh, well, you've given it back, but it's got a crack in the screen. So you're actually going to have to pay us
Yeah.
400 quid. Because that would really worry me. And I think it'll worry a lot of people, like that idea of if you break your phone, you break your phone. And if you've got a cracked screen, you can't afford to repair it or you don't care, that's cool. But if it's not your phone and they turn around and say, you've broken our screen, you're going to repair that. I don't think people would like that.
No. What about if you decide to go back to you? So you're upgrading your phone and you go to iPhone, and because you've been a loyal iPhone customer, they give you £400 towards the next phone. Or say if you was like a loyal Android customer, they'll be like, I'm going to give you £200 towards you buying this new one. So they'll give you like, is it courtesy? Like you're a loyalty sort of membership thing. If you've been loyal to iPhone, they'll chuck in a spare battery in the box when it comes to you, because when your battery starts to pack in, you can just replace it yourself because you've been loyal.
I think loyalty is a sort of interesting thing as well, because I know a lot of people do, if you're Samsung, you probably stick with Samsung.
Yeah.
If you're Apple, you probably stick with Apple. But people do switch. And I think with the subscription thing, maybe it puts people in this area where like they don't switch. Especially, it's a bit like with contracts, when it was used to be really about early upgrades, and it would be like this is when phones were like 18-month contracts as well. It would be like on 12 months, it'd be like you can upgrade 6 months early and go into another 18-month contract, and you don't have to pay that much, or we'll let you upgrade 6 months early for free or whatever. And then now they know they've got you as a customer for another year and a half. Whereas now it feels like early upgrades are like basically not a thing, are they? Like you have to pay loads to upgrade early. So maybe it will be a bit like that as well, where they start chucking things at you to make you stick with them, and the opposite of, well, maybe Samsung, for example, might even come out and say the Galaxy S29 is free to new subscribers.
Yeah.
So it's just like, we'll give you the new phone for totally free, and you pay £30 a month for Galaxy subscription or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you, with the iPhone, you don't get the new phone for free, do you? You still have to buy the phone. With iPhone, you get it for free. And then obviously they've got you now.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's so much that could be included and not included in all this like subscription malarkey. Like I kind of am intrigued to know. Like I kind of wish it kind of existed.
I mean, it pretty much will one day.
Yeah,
we know
imagine.
it will, so we'll find out. But it's that same thing as no one's going to own anything. Like no one's going to own their cars because they're all leased. No one's going to own their phones because they're all leased or subscribed, or whatever. Like you don't own any DVDs or CDs or anything now. You just have Spotify and Netflix. And like in some ways, is that even a bad thing in a sense of, because everyone back in the day having piles of DVDs and piles of phones and everything, and it's sort of like maybe it's better to be a bit lighter on your feet. But the problem is they're going to make it really expensive, and when it all sort of go. I mean, the worst thing is with like Netflix and stuff. There's something on you like, and they take it off, like it's gone now, isn't it? And then, but if you bought it, it's yours forever.
Next time, we'll be making the podcast a little bit more summery, and we'll be talking about heat waves, how to protect your phone in the heat, and Oasis.
What's Oasis got to do with it?
So it's the Oasis tour, and there's been a lot of studies showing that basically should phones be banned from concerts, because let's be real, I've been to loads of concerts, I'm guilty of recording, and I've never watched it back.
I sort of agree. I think phones shouldn't be out all the time.
Yeah?
I think maybe take a picture to show you were there.
And
then enjoy the moment.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that sounds like an interesting one. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm glad you are, and I hope you guys are too. So we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.